We have Ann Howe-Gorden. She is the technology teacher from North Polk for TK5, but she's going to share some of the things that we can do in our classrooms as 3-5 teachers that maybe she does in the technology lab, or things that we could do and implement during when we are in the computer lab, or when we have the computers out in our classroom. I was going to say something else, and now I forgot what I was going to say. Okay, so we will get started.
Well, as Marissa said, I'm the elementary technology coordinator for North Polk Schools. I just want to start out by telling you that I do not plan to read the entire slides to you today. Oh, did it go back? Come on, there we go. So yeah, I'm not going to read to you. I'm going to assume that you guys can read yourselves. A little bit about me. I've been at North Polk for 22 years. I'm married and I live with my husband and my dog. And I have a grown son, and one of my passions that my husband and I share is we are amateur digital photographers. So we go out on weekends and get lost and take lots of pictures. When I started teaching, these were the first computers that we got new in my lab. I don't know, half of you in here probably weren't even born when we had these kind of computers. These were called the Yum computers because they were grape, lime, blueberry, orange, and strawberry. Now, however, we've got 2 labs with 27 iMacs. We've got multiple carts with Chromebooks, and we've got multiple carts with iPads as well. I teach at 2 buildings. West Elementary in Polk City is a pre-K 4 building, and Central is a pre-K 5 building. I have 2 computer labs with 27 desktops. I have 16 sections of kids in one building and 22 in the other. I get the kids 30 minutes a day, once every 6 days. I don't have any set curriculum. I make it up as I go, and it's based on skills and collaboration with classroom teachers. Everything I do, I try and make project-based, and I work with a total of 870 students in the course of 6 days. So I'm going to focus on 3 areas. And my goal for this presentation is for 1, not to read everything to you, and 2, for you to walk out of here with at least 1 idea that you can take back and use with your kiddos in your classroom. So I'm going to focus on Google Docs and word processing, Google Slides and Sites or presentation software, and Google Draw, drawing software, and KidPix. So I'm going to start with Google Docs word processing. So I'm sure you all are familiar with the let's type up your report form of word processing. I contend that there are a lot of more interesting and engaging ways that you can do that same type of thing without just having them type up a report and stick a picture in there. One of the things that we've done is to do timelines. So you can do a timeline in a Google Doc or in a Word document. This one is, they studied their birthday and historical events that had happened on their birthday, and they created a timeline of that. This one was for a history project where they created a timeline of the 1930s. You can make trading cards of people. And then they can make copies and share trading cards so that they can have a study guide for them. So they've done Civil War people. This was an inventor. So another way to share their information and also have a study guide. We've created resumes for people that we've studied. So these both were explorers, but they created resumes, so they still had to have that knowledge base, but instead of just typing a report, they created a resume. One of the things that I love to do with kids is digital photography. Obviously, I bring my passion for digital photography with my kids. So I give them digital cameras and say, take a picture of something, and then write about it. The student took a picture of, the topic was, what is beautiful to you? And so she took a picture of the flag flying out in front of the building and wrote a poem about the flag. I've given cameras to first graders and said, go find a picture of something that's a short A sound, and send them off through the building, and they find short A sounds and take pictures of them. It's a great way to add an additional layer of technology. And some of them really get into the digital photography part, so you're developing another passion as well as the writing part. Newsletters, and this is just a template out of Google Docs. So they took the template and plugged their own information in it, but they had to do it in a newsletter format or a newspaper. So they just took a blank document and created a newspaper about colonial times. If I'm going too fast, stop me, or if you have questions along the way, let me know, because I just want to get through all of this and give you some time to play and explore at the end. This is a brochure in process. They hadn't got much of their information in there yet, but it was a two-sided brochure that was trifold, and they were showing what they'd learned about a country. This was an activity they'd done. They were learning how to write with juicy words. That's not my term. That's the teacher's term. But if you read it, like popcorn shrimp, crisp, hot, flaky crust with soft, gooey, tasty shrimp on the inside. So they were learning to use all those descriptive words, but they did it in a menu instead of just, you know, writing about the dog running down the street. I do a lot of scavenger hunts with kids, so it's a way for them to find out their information, but in a more fun format. You can use QR codes with this. You can use books. You can use websites. You know, you can set it up however you want, but instead of just taking notes, they have specific things you want them to learn, and they go out and do it in the form of a scavenger hunt. I also do that with the teacher's help. So the first one I created based on stuff that I wanted them to know. This was one that the teacher gave me all the information they wanted their kids to find out, and I created the scavenger hunt for them. And the underlined stuff, those are links straight to websites for them to click on to find their information. I don't know about you guys, but one thing I find, kids don't like to actually read the web page. They expect to go look at it and find the information. So not only are they doing their research, but I'm talking to them about, okay, you got to skim through the whole page. You got to look for keywords. You got to find the headings. So they don't just expect to go to a web page and find, oh, voila, there it is. So they actually have to spend some time and read through it. So that's another skill that I use with that. I also do online worksheets. So instead of just writing stuff down, you know, they type it up. Not real thrilling way to do it, but at least it's a different format, and they're working on skills of not only researching, but okay, going from browser to web to Word document or Google Doc, moving between tabs, moving between apps, which they aren't real good at yet. I also do it when we talk about internet reliability. So now we're talking about evaluating web pages and finding reliable sources and digital citizenship skills. The first presentation talked about note-taking and making sure you give them enough room to write and you've got room for what you really want. You can create any kind of note-taking device you want using a word processing document, and then they type it up, and they don't have the choice of, well, they do, but I just tell them they can't change the font size. But they don't write as big as they can to fill up the space. They have to keep the font at size 12, and then they can fit more in there. All right, questions about word processing, Google Docs? Hopefully something in there resonated with you, and you found something you could maybe take back. Google Slides, Google Sites, and presentation software. So I'm sure all of you are familiar with PowerPoint and how to create a PowerPoint presentation or a Google Slides presentation. That's what this is. It's a Google Slides presentation. It's really quite boring, but it gets the job done. So we just had our 4th graders do severe weather, so they created PowerPoint presentations about severe weather. Well, I guess it was Google Slides. But I contend, this, I'll show you that in a minute. This is, I just set up a template for them to get them introduced to Google Slides, where I had like this, put the picture here, put the name of your animal, and then each slide had what I wanted on it just to introduce them to the process so that they could get used to using Google Slides and setting it up well. And you can create your own little template to introduce this to them so that they know what exactly you want, how to set it up, good design practice, things like that. Another one that the kids did on the Chinook Indians. But I don't know how many of you have used the new Google Sites software. I love it. It's so easy to use. It's so quick and easy to create a web page. It takes drag and drop to a whole new level. We used to do web pages in Dreamweaver, which was awesome, and it was way more powerful, but for the things that the kids did, Google Sites is amazing. It's so very easy to use. That's one of the things I want you guys to look at today. This is it. It's really super simple. You either add a text box, an image, embed a video or a link, or you put in something from Google Drive. Here's the different pages. You can create a new page right there, or a new link. You can change your theme. But then when you're done, I made that Google site based on I just took something a kid did in Google Slides and moved it to Google Sites because I didn't have a good example from kids. They actually used this for this project, but nobody was finished yet. So I just took what they had done in their slides and created a site, and I did it in like 10 minutes this morning. So, but here's your different pages. Up here is your navigation. And literally, it's drag and drop, and you have a website. And it's fun for the kids because they were all like, we're actually going to have a website? Am I going to be able to see it on the internet? Will my parents be able to see it on the internet? I mean, they were really excited, more excited about creating a web page. They really didn't care what the content was. They were just excited because they got to create their own web page. So, it's just, again, another way to share their information, but it gets them excited. This was a website that we created on Scotland, and so they had to study different countries. It was part of a cultural activity they did in social studies, so they created a website on Scotland. This one was interesting. This was based on The Amazing Race and something that, I don't know. I don't watch reality TV, but this teacher did, and so did his kids, and created something on, I don't know how Donald Trump played into it. It was before he was president, and it was based on some TV show. I don't know. I never watched it. But they had a budget, they had to travel, they had to see the sights, and at the same time they were creating a website and learning about a specific country, and they had to do it on a budget, and they had to tell how they traveled and how they got there and what they saw while they were there. And then they had to keep track of their expenditures in a spreadsheet. So they were learning how to use a spreadsheet as well. Questions about Google Slides, Google Sites, web pages? All right, now I'm going to go on to the drawing part. Don't underestimate the power of drawing with the upper elementary kids. When I have them in lab, and if I give them a free day, I would say 60% of the kids want to play in KidPix. And KidPix is just a drawing program. It's a pay piece of software, but it's really powerful. It's got a lot of different features in it. There's plenty of free drawing sites, and I just picked a couple. And if you're a Google school, you also have Google Draw. But kids love to draw on the computer. So don't count that out because they're in 5th grade. They still love to draw on the computer. So I don't know if any of you have used Google Draw. Has anybody used Google Draw? Some of you? Okay. Google Draw, whoops. This is what Google Draw looks like. You don't have a lot of options. There's not, a ton of tools, but for a quick drawing that's easy to get into your Google Documents or to export or to print, it's a quick, easy way to draw something. Your tools are up here, okay, and you can come down and I don't have my glasses on, but you can add shapes. You can scribble, which gives you the option to draw whatever shape you want, however you want. You can change colors, you can change backgrounds, you can import things. So there's quite a bit you can do with it. I don't think it's as easy to use as a program that's specifically a drawing program, but it does work, and it integrates easily into all your Google suite. Oh. So one of the free ones that I use with kids is Nick Free Draw, and again, it's not as powerful as
Nick Jr. Free Draw. Click play to start.
Okay. So
Play. Let's make a picture. Click on
And
the
then it
arrows
goes
to see
through,
all of the different
gives
tools
you
you can choose.
a little
Click
tutorial.
the one you want to use first.
But here's all the tools down here at the bottom. So there's quite a few tools for them to use. You can export it,
Pick
you can
a tool
save
from
it,
the
you
bottom
can
of the
print it.
screen.
The song is annoying, but you can turn the volume down on your computers. ABC has a free drawing program. And again, it's quick, it's easy, and you can draw whatever you want. The tools again are down here at the bottom. And you can change colors and you can change size and draw whatever you want. And I'm going to show you some examples of stuff that kids have drawn here in a minute. And then KidPix, that's the one that we have. I'm experiencing quite a bit of difficulty right now with KidPix and High Sierra on our Macs, but they assure me that in the STEM version, which is version 5, it's all going to be fixed. So there were some features that they didn't have in the version 5, and I complained, and so now they're adding like multiple user and other things that they had in 3D and previous versions. But this, if you go to their website, Makiev, you can take a little tour. This is 3D. This is the one that's got the issues with High Sierra. The next version, which is available, number 5 is the STEM version or STEAM version. And really, I was like, oh wow, a STEM version of KidPix. It's just steampunk interface. It's not actually a STEM version the way educators think of it. It just changed the look of everything to make it steampunk. So it looks cool, but it's not really STEM related. So, but again, the kids just love to draw. This is a poem they did when they were studying animals. This was, I think, 3rd grade. This was 4th grade. They were doing acrostic poems. Both of these were done in KidPix. You can label things. So, you know, if you're studying any process or inanimate object, you can label the parts. So they did all the plant labels and the insect labels. Oops. This is some text to self things that they did. So I can't remember what the poem or what the book was that they read, but they were making some text to self connections, and they created a document where they told about their family and drew pictures or used stamps to create their family. This was another book tie. I think, again, I can't remember the book. I've got it written down, but I can't remember it. They were making a flip book, which was how the book went. So they made a flip book. This was a 5th grade project where they were doing color poems in art. And so what we did in the lab was we created a composite picture of things that for this one were red. And they used KidPix because you can easily manipulate the pictures and bring in pictures from the outside. And then they wrote a poem about red. So that's it, short and sweet. This is my contact information. So what I'd like for you to do, we've got what, 20 minutes? Half an hour? Sure, they all leave when I need to ask. 20 minutes? So look at Google Sites if you haven't had a chance to look at Google Sites. Look at Google Draw if you haven't had a chance to look at Google Draw. If any of these ideas appeal to you or are ones that you'd like to explore more, let me know and I can give you more background about specific activities that I showed you. I'm also pretty good at brainstorming ways to take them and tweak them to fit your curriculum. So if you have any questions like that, feel free to let me know. But otherwise, play with Google Sites. I highly recommend it because the kids love the website idea and it's super easy to use. Google Draw, you can put those drawings in the website if you want to. So